You can create your own content space, your own content corner, and then own it and start to publish content around it that is distinct. You may be the only person talking about this on the internet, and these AI search engines are going to, the more you appear in these sorts of queries about this topic, and then you become more relevant to these search engines.
That spark of innovation, it's just waiting for the perfect combination of tools and talent to bring it to life. Welcome to Pitch, Build, Scale. I'm your host, Chris Fanchi, a recovering startup founder, veteran SaaS marketer, turned dev tech enthusiast and growth specialist. Each episode, we connect with the builders, the visionaries, and the problem solvers who are redefining what's possible with today's technology and pioneering the websites, apps, and software products of tomorrow. These are the conversations that transform how we build, how we sell, and how we scale technology businesses in a world where the tech evolves by the minute. Ready to stay ahead of the curve? This is Pitch, Build, Scale. Hello and welcome to today's episode. We have a very exciting guest. For those of you just joining the podcast, we are Big North Marketing and specialize in helping dev shops and SaaS companies scale their revenue. So if you want to learn how to take your SaaS or dev business to the next level, make sure to stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop a sword growth in the DMs. We're really excited to have today's guest. Jay Johnson is the CEO of ClickLoop Digital and the creator of Alara, full stack marketing plus AI voice platform that's redefining how follow-up happens in the digital age. With a background in media, real estate, and digital transformation, Jay brings a unique cross-industry perspective to building revenue systems that actually convert. Jay, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Good to be here. I appreciate that.
So I like to start with my guest's origin story, their background. What first got you into technology and also media and digital engagement?
That's a good question because I was kind of a unique entry into it. Because really, I started off, like you mentioned, real estate, and then there was a lot of marketing associated with that, of course, in that business, buying, selling, investing, appraising. And then I went into broadcasting, which was kind of a love of mine since I was a little kid, and then became a journalist and a broadcaster. And around that, it's a lot of audience engagement, audience building, and so that's a real key component of marketing. And so the messaging aspect of that, the writing and the connecting with folks. So I went from broadcast media kind of to print media, and several years at the corporate level during the real print to digital shift. I was working with one of the largest media companies in the world. It was a newspaper organization, but across over 100 markets, leading a lot of digital initiatives during that time and trying to really maintain our core print readership while also growing that digital, the younger generation who's coming up. And then using kind of a lot of what I learned in journalism and connecting with folks to reach out and do that with content, because essentially it became a content company. Led dozens of initiatives across probably 30 markets. We supported, a few $100 million in sales every year, and we saw a lot of just a lot of transformation. Learned a lot there. That kind of dovetailed into my corporate experience. Really started my own agency, and then really what I studied at grad school, just a lot of the branding and the building the foundation around messaging and around where we really start with folks when we work with them is building that foundation so that they can use their digital assets to convert, engage, again, and optimize what they're doing online. That was communication loop. And then one realized I really needed the full digital stack, the full stack of offerings. And so that birthed ClickLoop. And then ClickLoop became our full stack digital marketing agency. We specialize in lead generation. And our superpower really is targeted messaging and really reaching into people's brains and extracting what they're thinking and their pain points and what they need and engaging with them, going back to what I learned as a journalist. But we do everything from web development to digital campaigns to AI voice and chat. And now really what we're at, I think where we are is we're seeing it go from a digital shift to an AI shift. We're seeing digital go AI, kind of like I saw print go to digital. And it's kind of a lot of things are going that direction. But in a nutshell, that's kind of how I got here. And then we've launched with AI voice and chat, like you mentioned, Alara. Alara is a unique brand because it's an AI voice outbound system that engages with folks and really kind of automates a lot of just mundane tasks for several different industries. We have a lot of use cases. Yeah, and I think, well, we can get more into it, but, I think sometimes AI is a broad term, but really it's automation is a tool to automate these certain processes or systems that people use. And so, yeah, that's kind of how I got here.
Oh, that's a interesting journey for sure. So, did you always want to be an entrepreneur and run your own business, or was that something that came on later in life?
And I am an entrepreneur by heart. Since I was like, 17, 18 years old, I've always wanted to be, I initially wanted to be a consultant, and guys, I've been a part of probably 17 startups in some way. I even studied at grad school, did some work at Stanford, and it's been a real focus of my entrepreneurship. And there's real science behind it. It's not just go out here and just start something, throw something against the wall, hope it sticks. There really is a science, and that's what I learned. And that's, really a part of what we do when we build the brands and build those foundations to help companies and brands grow. Because like yourself, we're growth oriented, and that really begins with not just product market fit, but validating a lot of assumptions that you have and finding out what the market wants, needs, and then going and building it. Did a lot at the corporate level with that, design based thinking and things, and really a lot of customer development and understanding, and do a lot of market research, tons of that. But that's really sort of key, I think, in any entrepreneurial endeavor. But yeah, that's what drives me. That's really what it's just taking a brand and making it grow, make it really engage and convert. And I think that's what missing is missing from a lot, because everyone thinks they have a great idea and they take something to market. Either they don't have a strategy or they're a little whimsical about what the market really wants. And they put the cart before the horse without talking to potential customers. That's where folks like us come in to help them kind of course correct a little bit, and yeah, and target and be more targeted in all of that as they go to market.
Yeah, it's never been more important and frankly never been more difficult to differentiate yourself as a brand and as a technology. I mean, the barriers to entry for creating technology solutions right now are extremely low, right?
Yes. And it depends on the industry, right? I mean, like so for instance, I was at a healthcare conference in Vegas earlier this year, a few months ago. And because with our AI voice solution, Alara, we were going to take it to market, we were going to target healthcare. And we still do. We have some use cases around that. But you mentioned barrier of entry. That is a huge, there are so many barriers in the healthcare space because these clinicians, they approach something like a new technology like AI with the same rigor that they approach their real practice. This is an extension of their practice. So you're talking a lot around data governance and liability. There's just a lot of concerns. And to be honest, a lot of clinicians, a lot of physicians are almost geared to think that they're smarter than data, than technology. So that's why people come to them. So there are a lot of barriers psychologically, technologically, from a workflow standpoint, operationally. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it's never been easier to build the technology, but yeah, the regulatory barriers are definitely huge, and getting people over that hump because the technology is so new, right?
Yeah, yeah. I was going to also, you mentioned regulatory. I mean, we work with attorneys. I just spoke to our local bar association a couple of weeks ago about this, and I even learned a lot. I'm learning the more attorneys I speak to, there's a lot around ethics. Apparently, actually, there's no, I think, case law right now about AI liability. So in healthcare or other industries, so there's a lot of ambiguity there. And I think what I'm learning is you start with the goal. It's AI is kind of a new technology, but that really comes last. It's like 5 steps. It's goal, then people, then process, then data, then technology. It's not a technology process. You really need to bring the people in the organization in on the front end and get them involved in the prompt engineering and integrating things with the existing workflow. The technology is kind of the easy part. It's the integration with the existing systems that I think, and those barriers you mentioned, whether it's regulatory or otherwise. Yeah.
So, what was the aha moment or the moment that spurred you to leave the corporate world and start ClickLoop?
Wow. Wow. That's a tough question. Only because I don't know there was one moment, because it's always I think every step of the way it's always been progressive for me, and one led to another. I kind of took positions in my life and paths to build a skill set so that I could be the best entrepreneur or consultant ultimately, which was what I was working toward, that I could be. And I think I didn't necessarily have an aha moment other than I realized they hit a ceiling. I mean, at the corporate level, corporate has its own, ethos. And I really wanted to offer, I couldn't really, I don't think I could maximize what I could deliver for folks at the corporate level because you're kind of in a silo, in a box, in a function, function based. And so and while it was great, we did a lot around innovation and new products and services to reach readers and viewers and it just get clicks and eyeballs. I learned so much and I was allowed to do so much that I just wanted to be able to actually implement and execute it and play around with it and help more folks because we worked across all industries. And when you learn so much, it's like, okay, I now I have so much more to offer. And I think that was the aha moment. Like, okay, I think it's time for me to take a plunge and really offer kind of everything I've put together here and learned over time.
So you mentioned you work across all industries. Do you try to niche down at all, or do you take all comers? What is your goal as a company in terms of identifying those ideal clients of yours?
So you mentioned as folks niche down, you think I should be more targeted as niche as possible and select a niche within a niche. We've done that, but I think for us, because we're full stack and I meet folks where they are, I've worked across probably gosh, maybe 15 industries at our agency just because we can help so many. I think we have some standardized solutions, and that's really been the goal. And so within standardization, which is what I learned kind of at the corporate level, you find something that works in one market and we standardize across all markets and
Hmm.
did a lot of digital analysis and stuff. And I think we're shortchanging ourselves. We're shortchanging the market if we niche down too far. I know the notion of that where when you own a niche or a niche within a niche, I just think from what we're doing, it didn't make sense. I think from strategically overall it did not make sense. Now tactically it can within a strategy, and I guess I'll differentiate that, I guess, because I tell other folks to niche down, and whether it's your content strategy, perhaps you want to niche, own a niche within a niche and become a thought leader there. But from us at an agency level on a large scale, because we could help so many folks, it didn't make sense to be too narrow minded there.
So how is that reflected in your lead gen and sales process? If you're going so broad, what is your main method of bringing in new clients then?
Well, really understanding what they're already doing. It's cliche, but I start where you are. But before we just tear everything up or assume I have all the answers, we try to do what you're already doing a little bit better and optimize what you're already doing and try to think strategically and geometrically as opposed to what can we, instead of linear, and what kind of hidden assets, what intangible assets do you have that we can maximize that you're not realizing that you have. I think a lot of folks don't, and which is one of our superpowers, is really it's the messaging. It is, understanding, taking painstaking time to understand the market, painstaking effort to find out what the pain points are, to understand how to speak to folks. So there's so much noise out here, Chris. I mean, everybody, there's no lack of content, and it's the I think the harder the challenge is to pierce through that and to get to folk and to get to people to move them to action. When you talk about lead generation, that's really what it comes down to: getting someone's attention, cutting through the noise with messaging that speaks their language, and then say, hey, and pulling that thing from behind your back, say, we've got what you need. You should give this a try. I think that's the common challenge we see from all industries is really finding out how do you get their attention, what is that message, and where are they living? I mean, there's a lot to that. It's just so broad to say how do we do lead generation? Where's your customer living? On what platform? We want to meet them there. We want to um, and engage them in a way that they're already that's native to them.
Mm.
So there's a lot that really goes into lead generation, but there's a lot that people are already doing that they don't realize. Optimizing their Google business profile, showing up where people are actually searching for answers before they engage my client. What do they do before and after they engage my client? For instance, an attorney. They keep it real. They're gonna do everything. People are gonna do everything they can before they have to hire an attorney and pay that retainer. So they're gonna go to AI. They're gonna go to ChatGPT, or if you're a doctor, they're going to WebMD. How do I show up around those places and show up in those AI search results that AI recommends maybe in the Google AI overview, to be a relevant search result for your search query. How do I show up in your news feed? Because we found out one things we found out in the newspaper business is people weren't going to our newspaper websites to find content. They're coming to us through socials.
Yeah.
So we do a lot on social media. What social media platform are your clients engaging on? How does that look? And you want to appear there, and get their attention there. So there's really kind of a lot to it. There's an art and a science, I'd say, to lead gen.
Yeah.
But then,
Absolutely.
there's on the other side of that, I think there a lot of people are out here doing lead gen, and it gets ubiquitous. But what we have seen with Alara, we generate thousands of leads for one client, and we thought, oh great, we did our job. We turned them over, and they didn't convert because they didn't have the systems on their side built to actually convert these leads. And
Mm.
so that's got us started thinking about, okay, well, how do we help these folks actually convert these leads, increase the contact rate, increase the conversion rate? That thereby birthed Alara because it helps them automate that process and do more at scale, to kind of do some follow up and then bridge that gap. That's the click loop, as we say, kind of close the loop, if you will.
Yeah. Well, that's perfect transition. So let's talk a little bit more about Alara. How does Alara work, and where does the AI fit in? Did you guys put this together, and what went into building out a solution for the problem?
Yeah, and it's really just what I said. I think it's the follow up. It is the realizing there are a lot of gaps that in people's existing processes and systems that we're not trying to replace humans or replace people, but we realize there are low-level tasks that are done that AI could do. For instance, in real estate, or let's just start with what we were talking about in with legal case updates. We have, there's a lot of man hours involved in just updating the client, keep them updated, or even an intake for personal injury. These are things we have an AI voice solution that we built that it's basically an interface and a platform that we could upload your kind of your client list, and then it calls an outbound human sounding call that sounds pretty empathetic, but it can provide a case update, or it can take an inbound call if you have intake of your personal injury and you want to automate your intake. In real estate, a lot of they do a lot of cold calling. If you're an investor, you want to call the for sale by owners and say, hey, are you thought about selling your property? So we realize there's all these sorts of use cases, healthcare, appointment reminders. We work with a large multi-location mental health facility, 30 locations, and they just didn't have the staff to do all the patient appointment confirmations. So noticing problems and then realizing, okay, this is a problem that technology could probably help you with. Their call center is busy really servicing their patients that they're calling in and following up with. They didn't have time, but they're seeing a huge drop off in their outpatient programs from people actually not coming back for this sort of this clinical this visit.
Mm.
So the follow up helps increase which the you know in turn increases their revenue and the recidivism rate and all that. And then so that there's so many cases in healthcare because I think how many times you go in to the doctor and you get all the appointment reminders and you get there and you get your diagnosis and then you leave and you're like it's crickets. Well, that's when you really need to hear from your doctor. It's not like, okay, now I'm good, but I'm not sure if I'm healing right, or I'm not sure if I've got questions and I need some reassurance.
Mm.
Post-procedure care is another area where we thought, okay, this makes sense to do some follow-up to help close this loop. And so we started building these use cases out, and we've seen it being really beneficial in helping folks, like I said, automate processes and systems and not replacing the humans, but augmenting what they're doing and helping them to do it at scale. Staffing and recruiting has been another big one. Again, a lot of drop off they see from candidates who may not follow up with an appointment, may not show up. We have one client with literally thousands of people in a database that they need to kind of continue to see if, hey, are you still interested in a job or are you
Mm.
still looking? Because we have all these available. It's a staffing agency.
Mhm.
They don't have the manpower to continually call these folks over, but AI can do that. An outbound voice solution can do that. So we built Alara, and for these use cases, and it's people have taken well to it, and it's been really useful for a lot of folks.
Yeah, that's great. Where else are you finding opportunities to leverage AI within your organization, whether in the process of fulfilling for your clients or identifying new clients to pursue?
And I think for a lot of people, it's a brainstorming partner. It's kind of like I tell folks at one point, or say, so if we have clients that come, they say, "Are is this AI written?" We do some content for a lot of clients, their content strategy, and we don't end with AI, but sometimes we start with AI, maybe from strategical level or even a content level. But I tell them it's kind of like if you're an engineer, you use a calculator, but it doesn't replace what you're actually doing. It's just a tool in that sense to help kind of polish what we do internally sometimes. But I think what we're really seeing is that shift, Chris, is what I was saying. It's now Google. We do a lot of SEO, Google
Mhm.
Business Profile Optimization, things like that. And today, what we're seeing is GEO is the new SEO, so Generative Engine Optimization, and how Google is really becoming Google search is becoming a conversation now. These
Mm.
deeper search queries. Last month, Google just launched AI mode, which is going to go bonkers here. There's a lot of cool things they're doing, at least here in the U.S. And it's going to become more commonplace. But I think that's one of the biggest shifts we're seeing in terms of trying to really educate clients on what this means for them and how to show up on ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, in those search results and become relevant. How to own a content space and again become relevant as you in a way you can't do with SEO. If you want to know how to, can I eat frozen eggs? Well, if it's just a random question or a stupid question. If you you type that into a Google search bar, so you want to answer really fast, something, it's something quick and it's going to tell you right away. It's going to give you maybe some, that Google AI overview. I don't want to scroll through links and read a blog about eggs and all this stuff. And so I think, just what we're seeing in the agency is a lot of just really educating folks on this shift because it's really a buy-in from that level from a technological standpoint. But I think organizationally, people are not, we're finding they're just not ready. It starts with understanding if you're ready from an infrastructure standpoint, do you have the people? Do you have the skill set? Do you have the financial capabilities to do this? Does AI even make sense for you? Because it's really just, we start with the goal and then the strategy, and then perhaps we'll use AI as a tool. So that's kind of how we use it internally and externally. We're seeing there's a lot of crossover. I'd lie if we say we don't use it, but we don't rely on it solely. Just like
Yeah.
an engineer doesn't rely on a calculator solely. You've got to do some thinking.
Yeah, I think anyone would be foolish not to be utilizing AI for those things. It's so good at getting you that first draft, and then the human can make it really work. But what are some practical steps that a company could use to actually achieve GEO, to optimize their website and their online presence for generative AI?
Really, and then there's GEO, which is kind of the broad term. That's a good question, actually. That's a really, really good question. It's a longer answer than I probably could give you here on the show. But then there's LLMO, large language model optimization, which is really within GEO. And that is how to optimize and how to appear relevant within each individual AI search engine, whether that's ChatGPT or Perplexity or Claude, Bing, whatever, Google. So it's really, I think, at a more granular level, that's where we start, and how to create content that it is designed to answer questions that people go and ask in those AI search engines, and create content instead of a generic blog. Um, yeah, create content that's designed to fit within a search query that is that's more conversational based. I could get really granular. I don't want to get too technical, but that's really where we start because each one has a little distinct. They're a little different on how to appear relevant. PT has a way, if you may be familiar with the deep research you can do. And
Hmm. Hmm.
one thing you could do is, let's say, I guess an organization could create their own content space, for instance, in law or in healthcare, really any industry. You can create your own content space, your own content corner and then own it and start to publish content around it that is distinct. That's that. And I think that's where we come in. We talk about niche within a niche, because
Mm.
then you start to feed it. And the more relevant, and you may be the only person talking about this on the internet. And these AI search engines are going to, the more you appear in these sorts of queries about this topic. So you align your niche within a niche within a niche into a broader search query, and then you become more relevant to being you're more referred by these search engines. Pretty soon, and if not already, some of these actually recommend local businesses to visit if you need somewhere to shop or eat or dine or whatever.
Mhm.
So there's the art and the science behind it, but I think that's a couple of ways to do it. It's really starting at the granular level with LLMO, figuring out how to do it, each engine, and then building those, putting those together, owning a space that is uniquely yours, and then starting to appear as much as you can so that you can, yeah, appear in those, in that AI overview summary at the top and in those links that Google feeds.
Do you see SEO eventually going away as a way for businesses to generate organic traffic?
No, I don't see it going away. I don't see it necessarily going away, but I do see it being minimized, and it's its ability, its effect. I mean, it won't be as useful, and for the reasons we mentioned. 60% of the people stop at the kind of that Google 3 pack. You've got the sponsored ads at the top, and then you've got the AI overview, and then you've got uh, the 3 pack. I mean, the ones who those profiles that are most optimized, they're at the top. And then you've got all the links at the bottom that people are paying thousands and thousands and take 6 months to build up to with SEO. So I think that is the for the consumer, for the user who is very research focused, or perhaps SEO is more relevant, but I think generally the most consumers are going to stop at the very top. I think if you at the AI overview or the Google 3 pack, if you will, so I don't see it going away, but I see it minimized. Yes, I do. Just because it's getting buried. I mean, technology, it's just advancing, and that's just the way it's going. And quite frankly, Google is making it to be the case. They're putting a lot more into that. And as you know, there's links next to all those results, and those results are superseding what's way down buried in the those links there for SEO. I don't see it going away, but I don't see people paying as much money for it over time, quite honestly, just because it won't be as relevant.
Yeah. Yeah. Transitioning basically towards the GEO
Yeah,
or
that's the word.
LLM.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. For sure. So, as a company, where are you guys aiming over the next 12 months? Is your focus building and expanding on Alara? Is it building out the agency side? Is it both? Is it something else entirely?
Yeah, it's both. It really is a 1-2 punch, man. That's a good question because, well, I mean, I can only go as fast as I'm trying to keep up with the change of technology, because every 3 to 6 months things are changing. Um, that is a challenge, but I think really let educating folks to let us know that we can, that 1-2 punch, we can close the loop. We can engage. We can help you build the foundation, engage and convert, but also help close the loop and help you follow up with the things you really can't do once we generate thousands of leads for you, or hundreds of leads. Uh, help really follow up in a real human way. So you've got the full loop there, and we really, our goal is to take folks from click to client, from click to client, yeah, as we say, and that's the click loop, if you will. We just want to scale in an industry and double down where there's the real need. Right now, we're doing some stuff in recruiting and staffing and seeing a lot of needs there. We're getting a lot of demand there. And we've shied a little bit away from healthcare, but we're doing some stuff around. I really think GEO, there's a lot of opportunity space for us in GEO, in legal, for law firms. But we really just kind of want to, it's somewhat of a nascent technology on the AI voice and chat side. So we're kind of iterating as we go, to be quite honest with you. We got the lead generation thing down, but as far as the industry that this is most useful for, it really depends on the organizations we're working for, because these AI projects are really organizational projects once you get into them. And it depends on who you're talking to in the organization. If it's the CFO, you're talking about growth. If it's the CMO, you're talking about engagement. Now, if it's the ops manager, you're talking about increasing efficiency. It
Mhm.
kind of depends, and it just depends on where they are as an organization. It all kind of ties together and how we can grow in the space. But yeah, I think it's 12 next week. It's almost too far to 12 months is too far ahead. I think in this right
Yeah.
now. I think we think 3 to 6 month cycles, and that's a challenge organizationally sometimes because you have to build capabilities that are in 6 month buckets. It's almost too much to build a 24-month plan because by then things are outdated and there's new tech. You
Yeah.
have to build something that's only going to be 6 months out, and that's been a challenge. And so getting people involved up front. There's just a lot at the organizational level that's really key, and that plays a factor into how fast things go.
Is Alara something that's available to people that are not clients of yours? Is that something that's available on the market as a product, standalone product?
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm glad you asked that. But absolutely, absolutely, yeah. Anyone could use it. You could just be a real estate agent, a sole proprietor of any sort of business. And what we do, we can craft a use case for anyone in virtually any industry if you think it makes sense for you. If you have a system that we can automate for an outbound voice function, you're doing you have a call center, or if you yourself do a lot of calls, anyone can plug into it. It's kind of a plug and play system. It's
Mhm.
very easy to set up. Then we can get you up and going. The more complicated industries and more enterprise level, that's where it may take longer time to integrate, months and maybe even years in some cases, depending on how complicated, if it's multi-location or if it's an enterprise level business. But yeah, it's plug and play, and really anyone. You don't have to be a client. It's pretty easy to sign up on the site and get going. We would just need a client list and kind of there's a few questions you answer as terms of how to prompt it and what in way you want it to converse and what you want it to say and your goals. And we kind of go through a discovery session on that and really learn what you're trying to accomplish. The short answer to your question is hell yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You do not have to be a client.
Great, great. So, as you're building both tech and services, how do you manage the capacity and scale for both sides of the business at the same time?
Another good question. It's a great question, Chris. That's key. That is one of the things I really pride of ourselves on is staying agile and lean because of that. Scaling the technology is something that again that we have to try to stay with with the technology with the digital world itself and as fast as it grows. Scaling our capacity is another thing, and that's yes, we stay really agile. We pride ourselves on being really lean. We were running about our production side 22, 25 people at one point for a couple of years, and because we were working across so many industries, we've since scaled back, but we are able to ramp up pretty quickly. And that's one of the things we pride ourselves on. Whether you need it depends on the solution you need, but ramping up teams with a point per like a CTO, and then it's very project based instead of just a standardized solution for everybody that comes to us. Yeah, and that's how we stay. That's how we keep our capacity at scale with our keeping up with the tech.
It sounds like you guys have been having a great, incredible journey. You're getting a lot of traction. You're growing both technology and the agency. So hypothetically, if you had a magic wand to fix one thing in the business right now that's either holding you back or slowing you down, what would that one thing be?
Oh, that's a great one. A magic wand. I would want to know. I would want people. It's really what I want others to know. I want others to know that they have to be ready. I think there's some inherent limitations in adoption to whether it's AI or whatever we're doing. But I guess I wanted it's the education and getting people to buy it and eliminating the skepticism across the board and realizing this is not going to replace people. AI is not designed to do that. It's designed, but I think it will replace the people who don't use AI and realizing that it's something to embrace, but something not to be scared of in terms of it's funny because I've got kids and at school they are caught using AI. It's a bad thing, and on their
Mm,
paper or something, and then you got to the real world, and it's heavily reliant on AI.
yeah.
So you have there have to be some place where we're educated to understand that it is essential to understand how to kind of utilize some of these tools to just to do things better or more efficiently. On the digital side, I think it's really understanding the shift that's going from digital to AI, and that digital, like I mentioned, I saw it go from print, whether it's newspapers and magazine, to heavily digital and just straight content. Now it's just going from digital to AI. And what that means, it's a new ecosystem. AI is not a tool, it's kind of a broad brush. I think we've been habituated into using search engines. And I think we need to get more acclimated to using it as an ecosystem that helps us do things easier, better, or more efficiently. So it really is an education piece. If I had a magic wand, everyone would know and understand and be bought in, I think, at that level.
Yeah, it's kind of that shift from focusing on knowledge to focusing on being able to think. And the better you can think, the more you can get out of the AI, because you don't necessarily have to know the answers anymore. You can get the answers, but you have to know how to ask the questions. Right.
That's a great way to put it. Great way to sum that up. I would agree. Yeah, for sure.
Well, Jay, this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate the time. Tell people where they can find you and learn more about ClickLoop and Alara.
Yeah, so you can find us online. Our website's clickloopdigital.com. If you don't know where to start, we'll take you through the step-by-step process and tell you, it kind of guides you on what you need to know. You can find some results there. That will lead you to alaravox.com. It's VOX. And there you can even do a test drive. Which is totally free. There's no sales call. We're not trying to book a call to do this. But if you want a call, or if you want even a custom demo that's based on your own website or your own digital assets, we can do that and do something more custom. But those two sites are where you can find me. I'm also on LinkedIn as well. But yeah, I'd love to talk to anyone more about this. I could talk on this probably for days or for at least a couple hours. But this has been great. I really appreciate this, Chris.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. And thank you to everyone for listening. Please be sure to subscribe, leave us a review. And as always, keep pitching, keep building, and keep scaling.
Cheers.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Pitch, Build, Scale. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast provider so you never miss an episode, and we'll see you next time.